You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.
Hi everyone.
Hi, welcome back.
So what do Anthony Robbins, Oprah Winfery, Andrew Agassi, Bill Clinton...
And George Markoski.
I suppose me as well. What have we all got in common? Well, they're really famous and I'm not. However, there's one thing in common. They all are masters of NLP, Neurolinguistic programming.
Right.
And what's NLP? Well, I thought I'd introduce this to everyone. Neurolinguistic programming, the definition is actually an attitude and a methodology that leaves behind it a trail of techniques. Now, that I get dizzy just saying that. So what we're going to do is we're going to explain it in plain person's language and explain what is NLP, what all these people that are successful and really good at what they do use NLP, and how do they use it, and how can you use it in your life.
Great, I love that. The funny thing was, when I first met George and he told me that he was a NLP hypnotherapist, I felt like, oh, like how creepy, like don't hypnotize me sort of thing. I thought it was very scary to like hear, because when you think of someone hypnotizing, you think of like those shows where they're like swinging the little coin and they're putting people under into a trance and they're like using mind control basically. So I thought that was very weird.
Yes, actually I'm an NLP master trainer and a master hypnotherapist as well. And the thing is...
Even scarier.
Because they're two separate things. I've done a lot of study and research in a lot of areas, and I find the mind very fascinating. And I've always found it fascinating to find out more about my own mind, but also about other people. Mm-hmm. So...
But it's not as scary as what everyone thinks or as it sounds, is it? It's very...
No, not at all. But we're going to explain it today, and you'll get to see why. I guess it's not so scary and why it's a very great tool. Basically, NLP is a form of high level of communication. Mm-hmm. So talking's not scary, is it?
No.
Well, this is just a better way of learning how to communicate with people. And I think considering that we're social animals and communication is important in every aspect of your life.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, let's face it, you want to get a job, you need to communicate. Mm-hmm. You want to get a date, you need to have to.
You want to make friends, you got to communicate.
Yeah, that's one thing you're going to have to do every day, unless you're a hermit. And if
you want to order a coffee, like I did this morning, you've got to communicate.
Yes, and the only people that probably don't need this skill is people that are hermits, and people living in a cave that are hermits are probably not watching our podcast, so it doesn't matter. They probably don't have Wi-Fi or anything.
No,
hermits are interesting people, but we're not going to talk about them today.
So where did NLP, so it's Neuro-linguistic programming, where did this all come from and originate from?
Okay, it actually started in the 1970s. There's a guy called Richard Bandler and John Grinder. These two people were studying at university, and they were linguists and programmers, and I don't know which one was which, but it doesn't matter. But what they did is they joined together, and I think it was part of what they were learning. And what they did is they decided to go around and find the best therapists in the entire world, which was America for them, and find out what they're doing and why they're doing it. So what they did is they studied people like a lady called Virginia Satir, which is an amazing family therapist, and also a guy called Milton Erickson. And we're going to talk about these two people because they're fascinating. So Milton Erickson and Virginia Satir, they were what we call unconsciously competent.
Right, yeah.
So, and I want to explain this. So basically with any skill, right, what happens is first you've got to be consciously incompetent because you consciously know you can't do it. Because before that you don't even know that skill exists, so you don't even know you can't do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then what happens is...
So you've got to be aware of it existing.
Yeah, so first you're unconsciously incompetent because you don't even know, right? Then when you learn about it, you become consciously incompetent. You're aware that you don't know how to do it, which is a good start. Yeah. That's the next level, level 2. And then what happens is you become consciously competent. So you learn how to do it, but you got to focus and concentrate.
Right.
Then you get to the next level where you get unconsciously competent, where you actually you're not even aware of how good you are at it.
Yeah, right.
I guess it's a bit like riding a bike. I mean, if you first start looking at a bike, you're like, wow, this is a bike. I'm a kid. I don't know how to ride this.
You've got your little training wheels on.
Then you've got to really focus. Actually, driving a car is a better example, right? So when you first learn how to drive a car, you've got to practice and you've got to like the gear stick and the steering wheel.
Check your mirrors before you even take off.
You've got a big flight checklist, almost like a pilot, you know? And and there's cars going around, you don't know what's going on, and you're driving quite slow. You know, you get these oil platers and, you know, you've got to really focus. But now I'm pretty sure this happens to me.
It's like second nature.
Well, I know what happens to me, and this is an interesting fact. Sometimes you can drive. Have you ever driven home? You're in your driveway, and you're like, "How did I get here?"
I don't think I've ever had.
I've done it before because your unconscious just does it for you.
Right. Okay.
And that's a part of being conscious and unconscious and being in a hypnotic state. So if you drive home, when I was learning NLP, this is one that I'll just quickly tell the story. I was learning hypnosis, and I had these tapes. Back in those days, it was tapes, and I put a tape in, and it's like, okay, welcome to hypnosis training. Make sure you're not driving, right? And I'm like, I'll be fine. So I was in Melbourne. I was driving along, and before you knew it, I must have been out for a while because I ended up in the Dandelion Mountain Ranges.
Oh my God.
Onto a gravel road, and the car slipped a bit, and that woke me up out of my trance. And I looked around, I thought, why am I here? And I thought, never again. Like, I'm not doing hypnosis training in the car. Because I thought I'd save time because I was really busy, but no, that was crazy.
So you probably should have listened to that disclaimer then.
Yes. So we're not going to do any hypnosis here, so don't worry. And if I do, I'll warn you. But yes, so it's pretty powerful stuff, very powerful stuff. So Richard Bandler and John Grinder, when they went to study this, so these people were unconsciously competent. So they didn't know what they were doing exactly, but they were very good at getting changes in people. So a lot of people that couldn't get help through the traditional routes, which was psychotherapy, psychology and stuff like that. Yeah. Because that was all sort of invented back in the day by Sigmund Freud and people like that. So Sigmund Freud, he was pretty crazy himself, and that's why he invented what he did. And there's some interesting stories about him, but back in those days, you couldn't replace your teeth. So he had to have wooden teeth put in.
That's just so creepy.
Right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, better than nothing. But the problem was...
Didn't that give you, like, splinters and gums?
Look, he had halitosis big time, like bad breath.
Oof.
So that's why you've got the couch and the person sits away from you when they do therapy.
Oh, right.
Because he couldn't be close face-to-face with people. Because otherwise...
They just run out the door to get away from him.
And at the time, there was a guy called Mesmer, right? Who helped people, and what he used to do, he used to call it animal magnetism. But what he was probably the first hypnotist. Right. So he used to help people change by being really close, building rapport, and putting them in the trance. And he said it was animal magnetism. Now, Sigmund Freud didn't like him because they were both trying to be popular, two different schools of thought. Yeah. And
obviously the Sigmund Freud one took off because NLP is very unheard of for the majority of people. That
wasn't NLP, that was hypnotherapy.
Right.
But what happened was Sigmund Freud and Mesmer basically did most of this just to get laid. Right. That's right. And that's why Sigmund Freud said everything is phallic and everything you do is to get laid. You know what I mean? In a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff, and I don't be quoted on this, but and he ran
Who would go near him with that bad breath?
Well, that's why he had the couch. But, but the reason he lost his teeth because he was a cocaine addict. Right. He had too much cocaine. Because back in those days, it wasn't illegal and people didn't know if it was good or bad for you or whatever. So, yeah, interesting. So he ran Mesmer out, and hypnosis really got a bad name, and psychology was where it sort of started.
It took off.
So hypnosis has always been known with stage musicians and people making you look like a chicken and things like that. And people are quite scared of it.
Magicians.
Magicians, yes. Or looking for eyes. But the thing is, hypnosis is actually a powerful tool. And whether you know it or not, you go through cycles where you're in a trance naturally anyway. So every 90 minutes or so, you go into a trance. It may be sometimes when you're watching TV and someone talks to you, you don't hear them. There's lots of examples of when you're in your own trance. And basically, there's the conscious mind. And a lot of people call it the subconscious, but I don't like that term because it means it's not as good, not as great. But you've got the conscious mind on top and you've got the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
If you think about an iceberg and what you see above the water, you only see a little tiny bit and the rest is the bottom. The unconscious mind is massive.
Wow, that's a really good visual way to put it.
Yeah, so your conscious mind is a very tiny little bit of your mind that actually creates everything that happens, but everything happens on the unconscious level. So you don't actually make you don't make any decisions consciously. We're unconscious beings, and Sam Harris wrote a book, Free Will, showing how we don't have free will, and I want to discuss that on another topic, another time, because it's fascinating and you need to know the ins and outs, and we don't have the time today. But so the thing is, what happens in life is our conscious mind and our unconscious lose rapport. Right? A lot of people don't trust their unconscious, and that's why they're scared of hypnosis.
Right.
But see, your unconscious mind is actually you. And it cares about you as much, if not more about you, than your conscious mind. So you can trust your unconscious. Well, hopefully, most people can. Depends. So, and NLP and hypnosis is all about getting that rapport back to your conscious and your unconscious mind to help you live the life that you want to live, and helps make internal change.
Right.
So basically, Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson went from two very different angles. So Virginia Satir, what she used to do is look at people's language and body language in a group. And when people used to talk, she used to do group family therapy. And when people used to talk, she'd find out that there was information missing and people were making assumptions. And through that, she could actually help people actually express exactly what they're feeling inside to help people with their problems.
You'd have to be quite skilled to do that, though.
She was very skillful.
Very attuned to body language and everything like that.
Yes, and this takes us to the communication model of NLP, which is very important. I'm going to go through that. And here's the picture of the communication model that I got off the internet. And I'm going to ask the production team to put that into our video. Now, people that are listening to our audio, you're going to have to go to the show notes but I'm going to try to describe it as best as I can. So what happens is, inside yourself, right, inside your mind, I guess you've got your internal representation. So what's the internal representation? Internal representation is...
is it like the way you see yourself?
No, but good question, but it's not actually.
Okay.
So internal representation is either a picture you make, so it's or a sound you make, auditory, or a feeling you have.
Right.
A smell, and gustatory, which is your taste, and also words that you use. So VACOG, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, which is feeling, olfactory, gustatory.
Is it one of those things, or could it be all of them?
Yes. So yes,
it's both.
So it can be. Some people think differently. So some people think in pictures.
Right.
And other people think in words. Other people think in feelings. And by looking at people's body language through NLP, you can tell what modality they're using. Or even by looking at people's eye
What
signals.
modality am I using?
Okay, now you're using auditory. Right? Because your eyes are moving to the left and right. That's auditory, right? So what I'm going to do is... I'm not going to do it today because we're just giving an introduction. I'm actually going to explain to people how to read people because we're doing a series on NLP, which is fascinating because I've been doing it for a long time. And I'm going to teach people how you can read people through their body language and their eye movements, and even tell if they're lying,
Right.
Because you can tell that. Because if you ask someone a visual question, but they're using a different modality, and you can tell by their eyes and their body language that they're making something up or they're recalling something. It's very interesting. So all humans have got a very similar structure to what we do. But it can change if you're left or right-handed because you're left and right brain.
Oh.
So basically, all the parts of your
That's
brain...
my secret advantage, being left-handed.
That's right. Well, apparently left-handed people are more creative,
I've heard that theory.
Yes, so let's say there's an external event, right? So in 1 second, you got probably 2 million bits of information going into you through sights, sounds, feelings, everything. Like at the moment, you're probably not aware of the temperature of your left ear.
No.
But now that I've mentioned it, you probably are.
Yeah.
Because mine's a little bit cold. Now, it's winter here in Adelaide. So And you can't pay attention to everything, because otherwise you'd have too much.
Go crazy. There'd be too much stimulation.
2 million bits of information.
Yeah.
Experts say if you took it all in, it would just fry your brain.
Overwhelm
It'd fry your brain.
Yeah.
So what happens, your brain needs to be able to take all this input and find out what's important and what's not, because our brain evolved as a survival mechanism to find out about our environment. All right? So out of that 2 million bits of information, you end up with probably about 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information. That's it. So you've got to distill 2 million right down.
I guess that's why it's so important to like focus on one thing at a time and do it properly.
Yeah, there's no such thing as multitasking.
Because you can get distracted so easily.
So you get an external event, comes in, and now it's either you got visual, auditory, kinesthetic, I'm testing my memory here, olfactory, gustatory that comes in, right? And then what happens is our brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes everything. First thing it does is delete, right? So it deletes all the things that aren't important. Like, for example, the temperature of your left ear. It deletes that because it's not important. Unless it was really low or really high, then you go, oh, your ear's burning or it's freezing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it doesn't care. It's not important, right? So it does that. So then what happens is so the way it deletes, generalizes, and distorts is you have these little programs inside your brain, which is amazing, like a computer. They're called meta programs. So as you grow up, you create your own programs that help you deal with that. And when you're looking at someone's personality, what you're doing is looking at their meta programs and how they actually use information.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll give you one quick example, because this is a whole thing in itself. So, for example, some people, when they walk in a room, they look at someone, they go, wow, you look just like such and such. And everyone looks the same. That's called sameness, right? That's one extreme. And then you've got people that are the opposite, where they see everything as different, right?
I'm the sameness.
Yes. So sameness people, interesting, because sameness people, they go into long-term relationships.
Right.
They stay in their career for a long time and that sort of stuff. They're very, very loyal people. Now, people that are different into differences, they're the opposite. And I'm not saying they're disloyal because they want to be, but they can't do the same thing very long. They change jobs, they change partners, they change where they want to live because everything's different.
Right.
Yes. So I'm a sameness person too. Like, people go, what do you like? Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane? To me, they're all the same. They're great. I love them, but they're all pretty similar to me, you know? So it's interesting. But we're going to talk about meta programs another time, because it's, there's quite a few meta programs. I want to go through them all because it's fascinating.
How many is there in total?
Look, I'd like...
Just quickly.
Probably about 16, give or take, depending on your definition.
Okay.
Right? There's 16 main ones.
Right.
And what I've got is I've got a test where you can test your meta programs. So I'm going to be putting it up after our next one, so people can actually do their own test.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So there was a...
Homework, yay.
Well, there was a test called the Myers-Briggs Test, and that's a psychological test that actually tests your meta programs. But I've got a neurolinguistic version program of it where you can actually do it in just in conversation. So I'll give you a quick test if you want to play this with your friends. Okay. So
I'm scared.
I'll give you a quick test you can play with your friends. It's great. So
Am I
what you
gonna
do?
be brainwashed?
I tried this with you. No, you're not going to. So what you can do is you get 3 coins.
Yeah.
Right? The same denomination. And you talk to a person, sit down in front of them, and you put the coins down. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And what you do is turn one around slightly. Right? And then ask them what they see. Now, a sameness person will say, well, I see 3 coins that are the same. Now, someone difference person will say, well, one's turned around, this one's 1971, that one's this, and they'll find all the differences.
Yeah.
Right? I tried that on you. And you found the little
And I just said, look, they're all 10 cents or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I thought, surely that's the wrong answer, because you're testing me to find the differences. But honestly, that's the first thing I noticed about them.
The thing is, there's no right or wrong answer, and there's nothing inherently good or bad about any meta program. It's just your meta program. And it's useful to know, so you can use that so you know why you're doing things, right? But anyway, I'm going off topic once again. So, so basically, the external event comes in, right? And it goes through time, space, energy, matter, and then your language. Because if you think in a different language, you actually process information differently.
Right.
Because you think about, let's say you've got the English language, all right, and I'm familiar with the Macedonian language. There's certain words in Macedonian that aren't there in English and vice versa. And because of that, when you think in a certain language, you think differently. So when I go back to Macedonia and hang around there, I'm still speaking inside my head in English.
Right.
But then after a while, I start thinking in Macedonian. And I find my whole way of looking at things changes.
That's so weird.
I know. So that's why people that are bilingual, got more languages, are sort of quite intelligent, because they can actually think about things differently. And that helps with being creative. Because if you think of a problem in one language, change the language, and then suddenly you've got new ideas and new words. Like in Greek, you got 3 words for love. But
Do you know what they are?
oh, thank you for putting me on the spot. There's I know Eros is
It's one of them, yeah.
one of them, and obviously Eros sounds like erotica, so it's therefore passionate love, because there's love between your family, love between someone that you're intimate with, and there's
like
love
platonic
between your brother. Yeah, there's
love, yeah.
And platonic is actually comes from the Greek word as well. So there you go.
Yeah.
So a lot of words come from Greek, which is amazing. So then what happens is you got your meta programs. So your meta programs change what you think, and then you got your values and beliefs.
Right.
So different people got different values and beliefs, so you see something differently and it goes processed differently because of that. And obviously your attitude and your memories and where you grew up and your cultural beliefs. So I think if you look at a situation, you think of it differently if you're an atheist or a Christian or a Muslim. It'd come through differently.
Yeah,
Because you're judging it differently. So we use all that to squeeze it right down to 7 plus or minus 2 out of what you see. And then that creates an internal representation, which can be a picture, feeling, or, a smell, a sound, all that stuff, all put together.
Right.
So the 3 things that control your behavior, one of them is your internal representation. So obviously having a picture in your head is going to help control what you do, but also your state. Now, what is state? It's your emotional state, right? So if you're angry at the time, then you're going to have a different response to something than if you're happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Like if you're having to wait in line longer than normal, it's going to upset you quicker. Whereas if you're obviously a calmer person, it's not going to bother you.
Yeah, it depends on your state, but also your physiology. So this is the amazing thing. And when I found this out, I was amazed. So what happens is your physiology, your body language, your body, the way it is, changes the way you feel.
Like if you smile, you become happier.
Yeah, let's smile. See?
Works for me. It's like...
It's great. It's great. And when I first started in working, I used to sell door-to-door stuff. And when you go door-to-door, you get rejected all the time. And the thing is, the first impression makes a big difference. You've got to be happy. Right. You don't want to go, I got rejected 50 times, oh no, because you're not going to get anywhere. So I used to walk past the mirror and give myself a big smile. And that suddenly kicked in.
Changed my
whole state. And I came in and that was fine. So I feel that doing door-to-door sales gave me one thing. It was very hard work, getting rejected 100 times a day.
Yeah.
Well, I got rejected 100 times a day, every day, for years on end.
Wow.
Right? But what it did, it gave me the power to control my state. And controlling your state is very important, because through your internal representation and your physiology, those 2 things, and your state, you can control your state. So having 2 of those things on your side is much easier.
Makes sense, right? Yeah.
So for example, if you feel depressed, your body language is going to be down, your eyes are going to be down, in kinesthetic, right? And it's pretty hard to be really happy down here. But if you look up and shoulders back and you have a smile on your face and your eyes are looking up, it's quite difficult to be depressed.
Yeah.
Right? So physiology is very, very important. So to get into the right state,
straighten up that posture.
That's right. So the easiest way to get in a good state is using physiology, because you don't have to think about anything. You just bang, get in there,
move,
right?
Yeah.
So, because Anthony Robbins, he does the firewalk, which is great. And I've done the firewalk quite a few times. Actually, I worked as a trainer on those things of Anthony Robbins and help people get them in the right state to go across the fire. And it was an exciting job because you're helping people go from one state and then they walk through the fire to sort of really, their state is amazing. It's great. It's great. So very exciting. And what you and I do sometimes if we're not in the right state, what do?
Firewalk.
We do a mock firewalk at home.
Pretend we don't actually have a fire.
We don't have a fire. But how do you feel afterwards?
Great.
Exhilarating.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Amazing. And it's a beautiful anchor. And Anthony Robbins, he is a master of NLP, but he calls it NAC because he made his own name up. So he wouldn't.
What's NAC stand for?
Neuro-associative conditioning. It's just NLP, but
different
he used a different name.
He's just branded it.
He's branded it, yep. So smart guy, but he's a master of NLP and master of physiology. So a lot of NLP people teach you NLP, right? But all they're doing is sitting down and they're not using their physiology, where Anthony Robbins actually uses physiology a lot. And if you go to one of his courses, he got people up and active and bang.
Would you say that's part of the key of why he helps so many people? Or?
Yes, I mean, I really feel that Anthony Robbins has done a lot of good for a lot of people, especially through NLP and things like that, because he practices what he preaches. He gets
Same
up
with
there.
Oprah, I'd say.
Yeah, Oprah. Yeah. She's amazing. So I feel that these leaders that we've got and people that are like celebrities, a lot of them are doing the right thing, which is great, and they're actually got their heart right. They're helping people, and Anthony Robbins has impacted NLP more than anything else. I mean, I'll tell you my story of how I got involved in NLP, and Anthony Robbins is part of it. So what happened was I wanted to learn more about sales, right? And I saw this book, and I think it was called Unleash the Power of Within or something like that. It was Anthony Robbins' first book.
I've seen that book, yeah.
Right? That was before he did Awaken the Giant. And I read that book, and I read it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Got you pumped
right?
up.
And he taught people how to do anchors. Now, anchors are amazing things because what happens is, positive anchors and negative anchors. Like, for example, I'll give you an example of an anchor. When you see a red light, what do?
You stop.
You stop. Now, here we got speed cameras here in Australia, so when I see a flash, I slow down my car, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was walking through the shopping centre once really fast, and they were doing baby photos, and I saw this flash, and I slowed down.
You're kidding?
No,
Wow.
Right? Because I'm so used to
Amazing.
it. You know what I mean? That's an anchor. And a lot of times we can have negative anchors, and that's what happens in a lot of relationships when people start doing negative things, right? They've got a few negative anchors. It just perpetuates. So, when I was 18, I moved to Sydney, and I had quite a few negative anchors in my home, but I didn't realise it was affecting me. And by being in Sydney, sort of got rid of those negative anchors, you know what I mean?
Because you were nowhere near them.
Because I was nowhere near them and made a big difference. And so that was pretty amazing. So I read this book and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And then just after I read the book, I see this big thing. Because when I first moved to Sydney, and I saw this big billboard going, Anthony Robbins in the city, last time, never coming again. That was back in 94. And he was never coming back again. And it was about $1,000. And at the time, I did not have $1,000. I was like, that's, you know what I mean? Because I was working as a real estate agent in Adelaide, and I went to Sydney to do some sort of thing. I was doing New Skin part-time. That was a multi-level marketing. They had this big convention. So I was going to Sydney. I was going to do the convention, buy myself a Honda Prelude because they were cheaper in Sydney, like a couple of grand cheaper, and then drive back to Adelaide. So I gave my car away, flew there, ended up blowing all my money and then going to this course. So I couldn't come back. So
you were stuck
I quit.
there.
I was stuck there, but I saved the money up, did whatever I could to do this NLP thing. And for me, it was very uncomfortable. Because you got to go hug these strangers and do all this weird stuff. You know what I mean?
Really get out your comfort zone.
But he pushes you, doesn't let you eat, doesn't let you sleep, so just pushes you through that, right? And I was pumped. I was so excited. You know what I mean? And I found after doing NLP, I went from a very low base income. I went to the next level. I doubled my income overnight,
Wow.
right? Literally a couple of weeks, right?
So it's definitely a worthwhile investment.
Totally. So reading that book, learning about NLP and doing some of that work just doubled my income. So I was hooked. I loved it. Like my success rate just went to the next level. It was great. You know, I was going from being a real estate agent making 20 grand a year of a broken down car to getting a $90,000 a year job. You know, right?
Yeah, what a difference.
Fantastic. Out of the blue. Because I just had so much confidence. I just got it. Yeah. Interesting story how I got that job too, which I'm going to talk about one day. But it was great. So I went on this journey of really wanting to improve myself. And I've always read books. I've always been into that.
Yeah,
and then I did NLP in 97 with Tad James, practitioner course.
Okay.
Guess what happened afterwards?
Doubled your income again. Double it.
Then I did master practitioner. My income went up again. Then I did trainer's training in California, and it did it again.
Wow.
So I found every time I improved myself on the inside, my success on the outside was much better.
Pretty amazing.
And like I just went through this series of years of improving myself and getting better results in life. And I was always a hard worker. So I was working hard. I didn't say it was easy. But the results I was getting, I wasn't mentally sabotaging myself. Right? So for me, I'm very grateful to learn this technology. And I feel that whatever you want on the outside comes from here. See, you can't get more than what you've got unless you become more than what you are.
Yeah,
that's just a fact of it. And you can wish for it, but really, if you're not getting the results in your life.
So a lot of people now would be thinking, okay, how on earth do I get into this? How do I start and do what you've done, obviously? Because a lot of people are now thinking, I want to double my income.
Yes. So basically, I suppose any results in your life, anything that you're looking at, really, the answer is in self-development. So if you want to change the outside of your life, you have to change the inside because that's where it happens. See, the world is a reflection of yourself. So because it's a reflection of yourself, it's not the world that's the problem, right? Because, you know, so the problem is you. And that's the hard part of admitting it and internalizing it. And it took me a long time because I remember when I first started learning NLP, Tad James, he said, look, cause and effect. You can either be the cause of everything in your life or the effect. You're the cause, right? And I'd go, okay, yep, you're the cause, but what about this? He goes, yep, you're the cause. So no matter what. So
no matter what it is in life,
Is it true that you're the cause of everything? Up to the point if a meteorite came out and hit you in the foot, it's your fault? Yes. In a sort of spiritual way, because sure, there's events outside yourself.
Outside of your control.
Outside of your control. However, by being at the effect of things, you lose your ability to control it. So by choosing that everything that happens to you is you, guess what happens? You take responsibility. And because you take responsibility, it gives you the power. Because you've got no power if you're at the effect of things. You know, because, you know, I've met a lot of people, and because I do a lot of coaching, and I ask them a question like, you know, where they're at and everything else like that. They go, yeah, but, you know, it was my family and the government at the moment, the economy in Australia is shit, and the industry I'm in, I've chosen the wrong industry, and I'm in the wrong city, and they've got this massive list of what's wrong with their results. There's one thing usually missing out of all that. Them, right? Because from when you're born until you die, there's only one thing that's consistent. What's that? Yourself. So you're always there. Everything else in and out, whether it's your parents, your brothers and sisters, everyone. You're the only consistency in your life. So therefore, you're the cause of everything, and you need to change if you want to change anything else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But trying to get that emotionally is hard, but you just need to keep repeating it and keep doing it till you get there. Because once you get there, and I did, that was where suddenly the world changed for me. And instead of seeing a world of, you know, what's the opposite of abundance? Scarcity.
Scarcity
so instead of seeing a world of scarcity in lots of areas of my life, everything became abundant.
So how many NLP courses have you actually done in your life?
Okay. Look, I've done heaps. So I've
Over 10 or?
Look, I've done the Anthony Robbins stuff. I've done practitioner, master practitioner, trainer training, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy. I've done a lot of other therapies. I've done a lot of training with Richard Bandler, John Grinder. I've done a lot, heaps.
Right, yeah.
So I read a lot of books in psychology and all that sort of stuff as well. So I've done heaps. So because I read 1 or 2 books every week, it comes in handy. So I'm very fast at reading. So that sort of helps. And I'm very fortunate where my memory is amazing. I don't know why.
From reading a lot of books.
Maybe because I believe it, but
yeah.
I do retain information very easily. And because that's come in very handy.
Yeah.
But I really feel that when you do the course, you're actually doing therapy on yourself.
How long is the course? What's a typical NLP course?
Okay, there's different lengths of courses, and depending on who's doing it. A friend of mine, George Fadul, he runs QC seminars, and he does the accelerated practitioner in 1 week.
1 week, wow.
Yeah, even shorter. But that's when you've got pre-learning and post-learning. But I really think getting in a course is very important. We're actually going to be interviewing George.
Great.
I saw him recently when I was up in Wollongong, and he's probably got the biggest NLP training company in Australia. Actually, funny enough, I got him into NLP because when I did my first course, I was really pumped. I drove past his dealership. He was a client of mine. I sat down with him. I said, I've got to see you. I go, NLP is amazing. Wow, you got to do it. And he actually got on the phone and booked in every course there in front of me.
Wow.
And did it.
And
He was
now
so
he's
pumped.
obviously teaching it.
Yeah, he's very good at it. He's excellent at it and teaching it. And I'm very fortunate because I've become unconsciously competent in NLP.
Right.
So I don't even realize what I'm doing. But the thing is, with communication and language, because there's a thing called language patterns, when I see an ad or a politician speaking, I can see through what they're really saying.
Like read between the lines, yeah.
Yeah, and when you become good at NLP, you can really see what people are really saying and what they're not really saying, and the difference. So, for example, so your brain can't think of a negative. So if I say, don't think of a pink elephant right now.
You think of a pink elephant.
That's what you're thinking about. And you can say, no, I'm not. But to not think of one, you need to think of a pink elephant and say, don't think about it. So through that, a lot of marketing companies and things like that can manipulate you, right?
Like lose weight or quit smoking? Would that be an example?
No,
or not really.
No, it's not. But you can, I guess, an unethical marketer could actually insert ideas in your head, internal representations, without you knowing it, by using a negative way of doing it or stuff like that. This is more advanced stuff, which I'm going to talk about during our series of NLP stuff.
Would you learn all of that in a 1 week course?
Look, 1 week is very quick, right? And depends on how much you retain your information. The important thing is not exactly what you learn, but the change you make inside.
Right. Okay.
Because during the course, you're actually doing therapy on yourself in a group, and that really makes a difference because it's the internal change that you make that make the real difference. You know, so, and you've been learning a lot of NLP off me.
Unconsciously, obviously.
Yes, but you're very good at it.
I don't think so.
That's because you're unconsciously competent.
Okay, well, woohoo for me.
Yes. So what I want to do is let's start. So that's my story about NLP. That's why I love it so much. So let's talk a bit about the communication model, because we've got the information going into your brain, and let's work out what does your brain actually do and how is this useful.
How does it break it down and process it?
So Virginia Satir, she was the basis of the meta model, which is talking about how we can be more specific to find out what information is missing in someone's language. And I think that's a good way to start, because I want to talk about the Milton model and Milton Erickson. So we got meta model, which is Virginia Satir's work, which is really specific. Then we got Milton Erickson, who was very general, that made lots of changes. And it was interesting that there was these two great therapists that are doing completely opposite, getting fantastic results.
Right.
And how do we combine those to be even more powerful? And how can we learn? How do we communicate with ourselves? So the start of, I think if you're going to do NLP or any self-development, the beginning is let's learn about how we communicate with ourselves and how we can improve that. because by doing that, not only you improve yourself, but you're going to be a better person to be around.
Would that be like how you talk to yourself, as in like if you have a mantra that you say to yourself every day?
Christina, brilliant. So some people have got...
I'm just making it up as I go, but...
Okay. So
Yeah.
for example, let's brainstorm a bit of this. So for example, what is life? Give me an analogy. What is life?
Life is living and breathing
Yep.
and existing, I guess.
Yep.
That's my definition of it.
Yep, exactly. And I think life is a fun game that you play, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Which is, they're both positive ways of thinking about it. But then some people say, oh, life is a bitch and then you die, or life is a war, you know what I mean?
Right.
So the way you look at things, like business, what is business? You know what I mean? A business is a way to help people. But some people go, business is war, you know what I mean? So you think about it, if you come in the angle of business is war, that's going to stress you out. It's not the right way to think about it. But if you see as life as your way, business is your way to contribute to people, you're going to have more fun doing it. And also your clients are going to enjoy it more. It's a better thing for everyone. So the way your mantras about life, business, relationships, your relationship, what's relationship about?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. It's people's way they interpret things, because a lot of people, like when you say, what does living past 80 mean to you? And I'd say living a long, enjoyable life where you get to exist and have more fun. But a lot of people say, oh, I wouldn't want to do that, arthritis, pain, and all this, and they've got all these negative connotations with living beyond 80. And like that doesn't even come into my mind when I think about living beyond 80. I just think like, wow, how awesome would it be to live beyond 80?
I totally agree. So it depends on your attitude and the way you see it.
Yeah,
because these people, what they're doing is they've got an internal representation of 80, right?
Right.
And their internal representation
is very negative,
which goes through their values, beliefs, culture, and everything they've learned. That's why, right?
Yeah.
So, because what happens is the way you talk to yourself is very important. So, and when I was in Sydney after I did my NLP course, I was living with a good friend of mine, Robert Talevsky, and what we did is we decided we're going to only use empowering words with each other and ourselves. And we actually had a little chart of what we couldn't say, and we'd charge each other $1 just for a bit of life, right?
Yeah.
But it was a good habit to get into. So a lot of people, I know lots of people that do this, like they'll stuff something up, go, oh, you dickhead, right?
Right.
And I say to them, look, don't talk to yourself that way. You shouldn't. That's a really bad way to talk to yourself. You should talk to yourself in a positive way. Some people got that little voice in their head that, that says negative stuff and, oh, this is going to stuff up. And you know what I mean? You got the angel and devil inside you, you know what I mean? And the thing is, creating the...
Schizo.
No, I've met clients like that.
Yeah.
Totally. It's amazing. I've met some amazing clients. And it totally amazed me where their self-talk, and you can see their body language.
Right.
They do this negative self-talk and their body language goes down, and there's a lot of fear there and stuff like that. And that's because they've just had these bad habits and all these limiting decisions and things that's happened in their life. And your life can be so much better if you get rid of those limiting decisions and if you self-talk. So a good start, because I want to do is go really slow.
I was going to say, what's the best way for people to start getting a positive
Yes, that's what I want to go really basic, because we're doing quite a few in this series and we're going to get more complicated, but I really need people to sort of get the basics first.
Yeah.
So the way you describe things matters. So for example, let's say you want to cut down the amount of food you eat, right? Well, you don't want to say, God, I'm starving. Because what's going to happen then? Your stomach's producing, what do you call it, more acid.
Wow, I always say that. Every day I'm like, I'm starving.
And then what happens is you get this massive hunger and you're going to eat more than what you should. Now, instead of that, you know what I say? I'm slightly peckish.
Right.
And that changes. Say I'm starving.
I'm starving.
How do you feel?
Well, I'm actually quite full now, to be honest.
No,
that's just because I had a coffee.
Okay, but what if I say slightly peckish? Tell me the difference.
Slightly peckish. Obviously, it's going to make you feel full because of the way you're describing that.
Well, slightly peckish is not very emotionally charged.
Right.
And because that, it's sort of like, it's a lot softer. Where I'm starving is a pretty strong emotionally charged word. right?
Okay, so I say that every day, literally. So I'm
Well,
going to stop
there you
saying
go.
that.
So that sort of stuff. So the way you communicate. So, if you're tired, you say, "Oh my God, I'm exhausted." You know
I
what I mean?
always say, "Oh, I'm knackered."
No, but, okay, so what you got to do?
I'm doing it all wrong.
Christina, it's a beautiful.
I'm starving and I'm knackered.
Okay, what you want to do is, I don't have quite the energy that I want to
Okay.
have. So by saying I don't have quite the energy, you're talking energy. It's a bit like people that want to quit smoking. They're like, I don't want to smoke. Well, you're actually having a picture of you smoking.
That's what I said before, and you said that was wrong. My example.
No. I was talking about advertising. This is different. This is self-talk.
Okay. Yeah.
So what you want to do is say, I want to breathe fresh air. But also you got to put another picture in your head. So because to quit smoking, you can't think about doing this. So you got to think about doing something else. Maybe eating a carrot or something, whatever. And
I'm just picturing a carrot now, replacing a cigarette.
Bugs Bunny eating a carrot. But
Yeah.
so basically what you focus on grows in your life. Mm-hmm. So that's the challenge. So if you don't want something, but you focus on it, you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. Because your unconscious mind moves you towards what you focus on.
Right.
Because the unconscious mind can't tell the difference between negative and positive. So if someone is driven by not wanting to be broke, right, and working really hard, and they don't want to lose money, don't want to be broke, what's going to happen?
They're going to be broke.
That's right. So you need to change the way you communicate. Very, very important.
Right.
And what we're going to do is let's focus your thoughts on all the good things. That's why one of my favorite things is gratefulness.
I was about to say,
Yes.
would that just be like being grateful?
Being grateful is the number one way to be happier. Right. And we've got this thing now, policy, before we ever eat anything. And this helps us be more mindful because we do a lot of fasting. So you want to be mindful when you eat, not starving. But also being grateful puts you in a very right frame of mind and puts you in the moment. So I'm trying to create more and more times in my life where I can be grateful. So I've made a habit now, every time I look at food and water, the drink, I'm grateful and spend that little few minutes beforehand. Mm-hmm. And I want to do that more and more with different things and just make little habits to make it easy. Because when I first started being grateful, I found it hard to remember. And I wanted to be grateful in the shower in the morning because that was a habit, but it was hard to remember. But now every time I see food or water, gratefulness comes out, which is really good.
I like that. Mm.
Yeah, so being grateful is a great way to have the right positive mind frame. And there's so much to be grateful for.
Absolutely. Mm.
And you can be grateful for anything. It doesn't matter. So part of my morning ritual is being grateful now because what I do is I do a bit of meditation. I read a bit of Stoic philosophy and then be grateful. And I find really sets me up right for the day. It's fantastic. It's very exciting stuff. And I think that's a really good start is try to be grateful more often. But we touched this in the goal session. Mm-hmm. I'm going to touch on it again. So daily declarations.
Right.
That's what I started with just to get it in my brain. I don't need to do that anymore because I'm just always got the right thoughts.
What are daily declarations?
A daily
again?
declaration is, okay, so let's think about the important things in your life, the areas, and I've just arbitrarily made 7 areas for our goal session, and that's what I do normally. So you got your relationships, you've got your work, career, you've got your investment, you've got your fun and adventure, your mind, spirituality and health and fitness, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what I did when I did this, and I did this over 20 years ago, I wrote down little post-it notes, positive declarations. I love working out because I really enjoy it.
Oh,
I love eating.
And
I love eating
for,
healthy
like,
food.
Health,
yes.
Yeah.
I really love my customers. You know what I mean? Because that's very important if you want to be successful with selling.
Right.
Because selling is all about rapport and being genuine, giving as much as you can. So I wrote all these things down. And every day, every morning I'd read them. I actually put them up in my mirror in the morning. So I went through them all and read them all. Then I had them on the back of with the car, the sun visor. Mm-hmm. I had little post notes on there. I had it in my diary. So I had it everywhere. And I had them. And people come to my house and steal these post-it notes everywhere thinking, God, what are you doing?
So that'd be a really simple way people could, I guess, get started.
Yes,
do some daily declarations.
A really good way is doing
down.
daily declarations, but also if you catch yourself saying something negative about yourself,
Turn it around.
turn it around, right? If you've got a little voice inside your head, And then there's submodalities, because some people got a voice with a certain tone that talks to them in a bad way.
Right, wow.
And what you're going to do is change the tone, change the voice, like make it to Mickey Mouse. It'll be funnier, you know what I mean? Because submodalities are very important. So the way you picture something, or the internal representation you've got, changes the way it is. So if I see a picture of a holiday and it's really dark and grainy in the distance, it's not very compelling. It's a negative thing. But all you've got to do is get that picture, zoom it in, make it bright, make it warm. For me, this works. And suddenly it's very compelling.
Right.
So when I have a big, bright picture inside my mind, I'm drawn to it. If it's dark and grainy, I'm not. So you can actually control the way you feel about stuff with that as well. That's a more complicated thing, but we just want to use words at the moment. So you need to use words that are positive and not negative. But you can't use, I don't want to do this. You've got to find the words to say, I do want to do something else.
And something I've been doing lately that's been helping me throughout the week is you do the hardest thing first.
Look, that is amazing. And that's what we've been doing lately. And you choose one thing, the hardest thing you can do it in the morning, get over and done with.
Bite that bullet.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic. No, it is great. So once you fix your self-talk, that's going to change the way you see yourself. That's going to change you inside. And you may not even realise that. But after I did NLP, a year later, I caught up with one of my ex-girlfriends, and we had a bit of a chat, and I was surprised. She was like, couldn't believe how much different I was. You know, I was
yeah, you would have been like a totally different person.
Yes, totally. And she was amazed. And that was all through NLP, because you don't realise yourself.
Speaking about being a totally different person, George has just recently come back from Sydney. You were only there for like 3 days.
Yes.
But you've been reading a Stoic book like every day.
Yes.
And compared to when he left and when he came back, was like a complete different person.
Yeah.
And I was like, who are you? Because he was just like so like zen. And I was like, what happened?
Look,
but it was a really positive change.
I really want to do an episode on Stoicism.
Yeah.
And I want to explain, because Stoicism and NLP have got a slightly different angle looking at things. And they're both beautiful ways of helping you control your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings and bring out the best in you and being here. And because with Stoicism, it's something completely different. I'm not going to go through it now, because with Stoicism, I'm going to go through it now.
Just give us a little synopsis, maybe.
Okay, so the Stoics were the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, right? And this is over 2,000 years ago the Stoics were here. And I've been reading a lot about Stoicism, and I'm amazed at how relevant all their thoughts and findings and their philosophy is today.
Yeah, it's
as
just
it is
like
2,000 years ago.
timeless advice, really.
It is timeless, and it's amazing stuff, and their knowledge and their wisdom is just fantastic. And I guess back in the old Greco-Roman days, basically in those days there was many gods. There wasn't one god then, didn't exist yet, right? So people
like the Greek gods,
the Roman gods, the Egyptian gods, the Macedonian gods.
And all that.
Yeah. So people had different gods and different temples. So there wasn't really a code of conduct from religion.
Right.
That didn't happen until the Abrahamic religions came out. You know, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which came out of the Middle East later on, right? And that's when that spread. So I'm just talking about the Western world. Obviously, there's Buddhism and other things that have happened, but I'm talking about the Western world at the moment. So basically, what people did in the Greco-Roman times is they used philosophy as a way of life.
Right.
So now we think about philosophy as just, you know, something you read or learn intellectually. But in their life, it was actually a code of conduct and a way of life, and they lived their life through philosophy. And there's different philosophies. There was rationalism. There was, I don't know if rationalism was then, but that's one mode of conduct. But then there was Stoicism, which is my favourite. There's cynicism.
So that's where Stoicism originated from.
Yes, and Stoicism, I'll give you the basics right now.
What's the main
philosophy? The main philosophy, okay. Control what you can control and accept what you can't control.
And this is what I take out of it as well. There's only one thing that you can control in life.
And that is your
mind.
That's right. And this might sound different to NLP, because in NLP it says cause and effect, you create everything. However, you control your mind. That's the only thing that's consistent in your life, so therefore You are in control of everything. However, outside external events, you just need to accept them. Right? And it's an interesting story. What happened was I was in Sydney a couple of days ago, and me and my friend Rob went for a coffee. He's a Stoic as well, which is fantastic, which is great. So we went to this, we saw this, we're in Sydney, it's hard to get a car park. We saw this gate was open underneath this cafe, so we drove in there, went to the cafe, came back, it was pouring down rain, the gates were shut, and it said, look, if your car's in here, you're not supposed to be, it's a $190 fine, and we're going to tow your car away. And we both looked at each other, and we laughed. And I said, Rob, this is a great opportunity to practice our Stoicism, right? Even though it was pouring down rain. So I said, look, let's have a bit of fun with this, bit of an adventure. So we went back upstairs. I had a chat to the cafe owner, and he finally got us out for free anyway. But there was no stress at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we went through the day, and the day
think,
went.
like, being a Stoic gave you the tools to be able to rationally see the situation and assess it, and then think, okay, I've got to go and talk to the cafe owner, rather than just freak out and panic.
Okay, so yes, because what happens is if you freaked out and panicked, you wouldn't know what to do. You get upset. Getting upset doesn't help. Anyway, it's not going to help, and there's no point being upset about it because. Really
can't do anything about it anyway.
Exactly. So there's no point at all. And then what happened was I went to the airport, and while I was at the Qantas Club, I noticed on the board all these flights cancelled, and the place was just getting full of people. And I asked what happened, and basically lightning hit the tower, control tower. So things were a little bit hectic, you know what I mean? So I got stuck at the airport for an extra 2 or 3 hours. And the thing is, I thought, okay, I'm another 2 or 3 hours. That gives me an opportunity to read more Stoicism and have some fun. And I was very cool and calm and collected. I couldn't believe the amount of angry people there were. Now, I understand people have places to go and everything else like that. However, getting angry is not going to change the lightning. And really, Qantas did the best they can. I mean, you don't want to fly if there's no radar.
Very dangerous.
Right? And as we're walking through, they were talking to the girl there representing Qantas, and people saying, I'd like to give you my mind and stuff like that. And the poor
flight
thing,
attendant,
poor thing, it was terrible, right? And I came past and said, look, I'd just like to say, you're doing a great job, and I really enjoyed this little break of sitting in the Qantas Club, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And I put a smile on her face, and I really meant it because it doesn't matter. Because in the great scheme of things, if something goes wrong, it goes wrong. You should enjoy it. And I've gone to this point now where if someone comes late for an appointment, gives me a chance to do a bit of meditation. So I actually say, thank you for coming late, because it gave me a chance to do some meditation.
They might think you're being sarcastic, though.
But I explain it to them, and they're quite, because they're normally stressed out because they're late too. So by me telling them that and appreciating it, they sort of calm down as well, and I bring them to my level, you know what I mean? Which is great. Because really, if they're late, because in the past, I would have got pissed off. I would have said, my time's valuable. How dare you come late? Now you've put my whole day out. But not really. Who cares? Really, at the end of the day, we're going to enjoy it. So I'm not saying don't have any boundaries, but be nice about it and be good to people and enjoy the situation. So when something goes wrong, I really try to find a way of enjoying it. And now, obviously, the more goes wrong, the harder it is to do. But in Stoicism, one thing you control is your mind. You can't control your body. You can't control your parents, your brothers, your siblings, your kids, your friends, your wife. You can't control your assets or the job or your job or the weather or anything. So therefore, you just got to accept it. Because really, you could lose everything. But it doesn't matter because you can control your mind.
You've still got your mind as long as you don't lose your mind.
Exactly. That reminds me of that story about that guy that went to the casino. This guy went to the casino and he decided he didn't want to spend any money. So he played that mind game where you just bet with your mind and see if you win. And he didn't lose money, but he lost his mind.
It's such a bad joke.
Jim Rohn said that joke, and when he said it was great.
Is he a comedian or something?
No, he's a philosopher.
Oh, okay.
Jim Rohn is an amazing philosopher. He's actually the guy that got Anthony Robbins into NLP and self-development, and also me, because I actually met Jim Rohn before he passed away.
Shout out to Jim Rohn. Hey.
Look, the guy was a genius, and I was very fortunate to actually personally meet him. And because I didn't know anything about him, but I was working at this company and they sent me there, and I got to meet him. It was awesome,
Cool.
And great guy. He really helped with a lot of philosophy. He was very philosophical because must have been slightly stoic, because he used to say, be there. Because what he said, look, If you're in the shower, be in the shower. If you're at work, be at work. Don't be on holiday. But if when you're on holiday, don't be at work. Be on your holiday.
Like be in the moment. Yeah.
Well, that's what Stoicism is about. It's about being present.
See, that's what I'm learning from my meditation as well.
Yeah. And I think you need to be present. And the more, I'm focusing more and more on being present, because being present puts you in the moment. And that's...
And it's not easy. Like, I'm notorious for like my mind wandering off and thinking about something else that I'd rather be doing.
It's natural. But the thing is, you can't live in the past or the future. There's only one time, which is now.
Right now.
And that's why you need to be now, because otherwise, if you end up living in the future or the past, you're not really living life.
You'll never get there, yeah. You'll always...
It doesn't really exist.
Be chasing something. Yeah.
Totally.
So I think that was a really good first introductory to NLP and learning more about it. We're going to do a couple more episodes on the whole thing.
No, quite a few. Okay, so we've touched... Okay, we've touched... I'm the NLP nerd.
Just scratch the surface.
We've touched this much of NLP, a little primer. And what I'm going to do is in the show notes, and we're finally getting our show notes up. And, I'd like to say congratulations to Judy.
Congratulations.
For winning the $100 prepaid visa. She won our first competition last month for giving us a review. So what we did is we went through the reviews and randomly she got chosen. Now, the thing is, I just realised afterwards that we've all got all these reviews in America, which we didn't even put in the competition. So I'm sorry. So we're going to do the competition again because I want the American people to get a chance. We've actually got more people in America than Australia. And I looked at my iTunes store here, so I need to be able to collate all the reviews together.
Right.
The thing is, the people in Australia, we know 90% of them. So, and that's why actually the person who won, we know her as well. So, great lady, and hopefully this time round, this month, someone's going to win that we don't even know.
That'd be great. Yeah.
There were some cool names there. Like one guy was called Cool Man. What a name! Awesome. Shout out. Right. There were some interesting names out there of people. So
I don't think that was his real name. I think that was just his
No,
name.
but I'm saying it's a cool handle. You know what I mean? I would like to take that, but I can't. It's taken now. So I really enjoyed doing this NLP thing, and I love talking about it.
Right.
And next episode we'll talk a bit more maybe, or something different. We're going to spread it out a little bit. We don't want to, I'd like to see if people like the NLP stuff, so please go to our page. Give us feedback. The Ugly Truth podcast group is on Facebook. Come and join us. That's where we talk about all things Ugly Truth and have a bit of a chat, and that's a good place to talk about what you want to hear more of and what you want to hear less of.
Any suggestions, any topics that you want us to cover, feel free to leave your opinion there.
Totally. I mean, we want to cover topics that are sort of eclectic and, people...
A little bit unusual.
People don't normally talk about, but also something that I've got a strong understanding of so I can explain my view and things like that, because we're doing this for fun and we're hoping that giving this information out helps everyone, because that's what it's all about. And if we can help some people out there or even just entertain them, I'll be happy with that. You know what I mean? We want to give good value.
Yes.
So I guess that's it.
That's it for today's episode.
I feel sad saying goodbye to all our people, but...
Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.log.